There's the sun and the moon when the sky's looking blue. Light is catching your eye like it's meant to.
Humans, I am this day. So, right when I was getting ready to start this reading, it was like really intense because I felt this like surge of almost like no, like that is not what's going forward. I know right from wrong. I know I'm mentally stable. It's like someone has completely allowed themselves to align with their guides, with their sense of knowing, their discernment. It's like you've stepped fully into your own confidence in yourself. And I think that some of you may have experienced this like weird upshifting in like a family type of situation, or almost like the environmental type of situation where you're in this living experience that like you've just like really solidly, firmly made this decision that it has to change. Something has to change now. And I feel like there's a sense of balance that you have attained inside of yourself. And so you're like, okay, I'm not going to allow for anything that isn't aligned with me any longer. And it's like, all you want is peace. That's what it feels like. Like whatever's happened in the past. Right when I was going to start this reading, the song I was hearing was like, I know something about love. You've gotta want it bad. And also, why should it be so complicated? It's like the same song, just a few lines later. I think, I feel like whoever you are, you've decided, no more mind games, no more leeway. I feel like you've been giving like an allowance and tolerance, and it's like, okay, no more. I no longer have time, because it's like the only hold back I feel in your life, in your own progression, in your own forward motion, it's those little moments, those ties that are like, but actually, are you sure? And you're like, no, yes, I am. I'm actually quite sure and certain about like what it is I'm doing in the forward motion I am taking. And it's like, you just want peace. You've already come to terms with the fact that like there are things that have not been aligned right, and you've kind of gotten glimpses of it. Like little beacons of light have like gotten in there to where you're like, now that I've seen that, I cannot unsee it. It also feels, right at the beginning, it feels like I'm not trying to be rude, but it feels like there's like an immature type of thing that someone really wanted to feel liberated really quickly. And I feel like we all do sometimes, where we like way overreact before we think about how we're reacting and what is going to happen after we've reacted, It's like someone thought, okay, someone went through this motion of like a quick reaction, and you almost felt like, whoa, pump the brakes. And then you've kind of realigned yourself to walk forward in a peaceful way. So this is interesting because I feel like in the beginning, it was almost like whoever you are, you were listening to your inner self. You've been listening to your higher self, where it's like, you know what's aligned and what isn't. And also, I don't know if this is all of you, but someone's getting like this weird pressure thing in their head. Almost like a weird pressure, like, the change of altitudes types of feeling, where you feel like that change. I feel like some of you are experiencing that in certain times of the day, and it's weirding you out. And I think that has to do with your abilities. And I think you can will that away by sort of balancing yourself out with breathing and asking for it to stop. Like interacting feels like a big deal in this reading. This is you taking hold of whatever it is you can take hold of. And I think that you've already recognized that you could do so. And that's what this feels like. Someone who had like an immature sort of outburst at you, I feel, this is not all of you, but someone's had an immature outburst at you, whether that was in your last large relationship or just this recent literal situation right now, where someone's like they thought they could kind of like throw a little temper tantrum and get what they wanted out of you. And I feel like you're not allowing it anymore. Whoever this reading is for, like if this is coming into your feed and you felt drawn to it, I feel like you are ready to align with those who you're totally cool communicating with those on your level. You have no doors closed for any reason unless it feels low vibe. And I feel like what you are seeking is peace. This is awesome because it feels that many connections hurt you in the past and that kind of transmuted itself into your circumstances. That's what you've released yourself from and gotten out of. So it seems like whoever this reading is for, they're trying to tell you, like, yes, you've learned what you needed to learn from that. Like, it's okay for you to continue forward. A lot of you really feel this pressure to make a decision about other people, I think. And sometimes that's like, it's not fair because you can't make decisions for other people. You can't decide, is this the moment they're going to change behavior and change the projection of their own life? You cannot determine that for them. Having a really good sense of discernment does not mean you can tell the future for someone else. So it's like really important for whoever you are that you allow yourself to step into this like forward motion with a positive outlook without like feeling drawn down in negativity about the fact that other people are not coming with you. Like, I really feel like you need to step up in a positive way. Some of you in here also, I think you need to see yourself with a higher, almost like appreciation of what you're capable of. And just how much you're capable of totally on your own. Like, I think that you're a sponge to information whenever you want to be. You're like a silent genius. That's what this feels like. It just feels like you're just kind of like silently observing all of the time and way more, capable of understanding multiple layers on top of one another at a time than a lot of people know. And I think that you need to keep riding the wave forward with that. It's like a lot of you, I feel like when you are the more you have to juggle, the better you are at juggling it. They're like, put more on. How weird is that? Okay. I do feel that though. I feel like some of you have sort of been in this place where you're like, freedom, and then it's kind of got still for a second and you're like, what's going to happen? Is something going to happen next? And they're like, walk forward. Like, you need to start opening up and enjoying certain new learning things too. I think that'll kind of like give you answers that you've been looking for. Like throughout your solace, it feels like they want you to expand on things that maybe you've never learned about before because you didn't think that you were like smart enough to learn about it, or it just didn't have its place in your, educational background. Let it be in there now. Like, there's no judgment anymore. It's like, what are you interested in really at the core of yourself? And let yourself just dive in. And that's something else I feel. Sometimes it takes, like, I keep feeling like this come at me, which is kind of neat. Because I think when things are about learning, they're very special. And this message feels a lot like that. Like, a lot of this message is basically saying, even if you have, like, sometimes I have to reread things over a course of a couple of weeks and then readdress it and read it again and be like, okay, does this make any more sense to me now than it did the first 3 times? And oftentimes it does. Maybe not the whole thing, but a new part of it, suddenly it's like the information comes together and I can see it. Instead of like at first when it was just kind of all thrown at me and I had to just observe that those things existed for a minute. I hope that makes sense. Some of you are like, this has to do with your abilities. I know that. That's really exciting. It's like some of you, I feel like you have this feeling of, well, that's creepy weird because it aligns with this. That ties in with this. And they're like, yes, it does. What else can you look into there? Like, learn about that. Look into that more. You're onto something. That's what a neat message. It's like it goes from such an inner child curiosity all the way out to grabbing what it is you're seeking to know. And then also part of it is like it starts at kind of having had enough and really gone through a lot of like turmoil and maybe experiencing trauma around you, and people that just couldn't handle their own reactions to trauma. I feel like a lot of you had to find balance throughout that and after that, like after coming out of that type of period. And you're seeking peace, and they're like peace and knowledge. Like you can have all of the speed that you're actually comfortable with and still have a peace at the end of the day where none of that has to be tugging at you. Let it go. At the end of the day, you can do nothing about tomorrow or that day that already happened. At the end of the day, it's like be selfish. Get excited about just you. Neat. Just peace. I feel like whoever you are, you're just seeking peace after like so much turbulence for no gain, you know? Just no gain, getting nowhere constantly. Okay, I'm going to leave this one there. I hope that is helpful. I do feel like it's a confirmation that you're going to attain peace too. That like sometimes it feels like you have to step forward in really large footsteps and kind of make a big issue about it while you're walking out. Like, no, let me out this time. And it's like, after you finally break free, you're going to have that breath of fresh air that you have been seeking. It just feels like a lot of you are really seeking something other than what you've been experiencing. You're like, come on, I've been reaching forward. Like, when is it going to hit? When am I going to feel that peace? And they're like, peace is the outcome here. You're on the way. So, very positive. Very positive between you and your guides. That's what this feels like. It's really neat. It's a fun friendship type of thing. It's a perfect balance of like being really solid in knowing what is right for you and also really welcoming to what is right for others. You're not closing doors to other people having other mindsets and other belief systems. You are just solidly comfortable going forward only with people with that level-minded place that you're coming from, to match you. Very cool. Okay. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And there's also something else in this that I feel like some of you, not all of you, some of you really need to speak out things you've been through. And that's going to give you peace, I think. For it to be accepted at a high level instead of just kind of spoken out and then deflated because it wasn't received. It's like they're saying like, say it now. Say it as the truth instead of hoping that it will be validated. Say it as the truth, that as you know it. Okay, so subscribe to the channel if you feel like the readings resonate, and allow for notifications when you want to know about readings that are uploaded in the future. And I will see you in the next reading. Okay, have a good night.